Hello everyone. I've done a video talking about what leads us to Karesh, and then what plays out on the planets. Time to open up the raid journal and take a peek at what comes next. Now that we can turn ourselves into energy and we can enter the Manaforge, what bosses and story might we get? Of course, this will contain spoilers, so do be warned, and with all things PTR, not all of it is set in stone, time is going to tell.
Stay alert.
Flying to the Manaforge means getting one-shotted, so with the aid of Xal'atath and the Rishi ribbons, we can do like Ethereals do, transform ourselves into energy and float into Manaforge Omega. Built to harness arcane power from the waste of Karesh, it now hums with a sinister radiance. Within it, Nexus-King Salhadaar attempts to reawaken Dimensius the All-Devouring in a bid for ultimate power. The champions of Azeroth must disrupt Manaforge Omega's operations, or else risk a reborn Dimensius feasting on reality itself. Working off the map, we start off instantly against the Plexus Sentinel. Patrolling the colossal machinery of Manaforge Omega, the Plexus Sentinel ensures that energy from the shattered world of Karesh is cleanly filtered into the Manaforge's central chamber. As the first line of defense, all incoming energy must be sterilized. All pollutants must be purged. Just turning into energy is not going to be enough to get past this one, as in Phase 2, they activate the Arcanomatrix sieve, teleporting all players away and creating a multitude of traps throughout the arena, while the Sentinel is shielded. I imagine a setting in which we need to swap between reality and energy to dodge those traps and the purging laser beams, while also breaking its shield and stopping protocol purge. Then we have 3 pathways to pick from. On the left are the cultivation chambers with Loom'ithar. Carefully genetic modification has engendered in this beast an exquisitely rare sensitivity to magical energies, purpose-bred for the ability to infuse arcane energy into its prodigious silk weaving. It creates living silk, perfect for the Soulbinder to use in the binding of the Shadow Guards. The model of the boss looks awesome. Similar to Queen Anserek, but now in moth form. A lot of raw arcane energy is gathered and thrown out here, until Loom'ithar is overcome with unbound rage at 50% health, and it tears itself in 2, which dooms itself, all just to make sure that the intruders that dare to push it so far are taken care of. Then on the opposite side, Soulbinder Naazindhri within the Unbound Vault. Without Soulbinder Naazindhri, the immense army of the Shadow Guards would not exist. Coaching the souls of Ethereals out of the twisting nether, the Soulbinder binds them in living silk and in purpose to the Shadow Guards. While using the Shadow Guard to defend herself, she also considers them her children. Slaying them will only focus her ire. And the Soulbinder is a master of soulcraft and arcane magic, enslaving the lost souls of Karesh through the dark workings of the soul machine. These unbound souls, desperate for purpose, submit to the horrific wrapping ritual and are remade into devoted ethereal servants. But to the Soulbinder, their loyalty holds no weight, discarding them the moment they become useless. We'll see 3 types of souls that are being bound mid-combat, similar to what we saw during questing, given form and bound to their cause, as these souls are desperate to hasten their rebirth as an ethereal. Meanwhile, Naazindhri will also use silk to throw at us and guard her machines. Onwards to the Technomancer's Terrace, which has Manavent, Aphis and Batar, which leads into the central operations, and in front of it is the Forgeweaver Araz. Using powerful sigils and techno spells, Forgeweaver Araz controls the flow of energy from the Forge into Dimensius, feeding the Void Lord to bring him into our plane. An ardent follower of the All-Devouring, he strives to see his work through at all costs. In the beginning, it reads like he and his attendants are gathering power and funneling that through a focusing iris. Focused power into Dimensius, which we disrupt, causing him to make the big play, unleash all of his power to feed himself into Dimensius, opening a door to the void itself. going from arcane to void as the darkness hungers, with their death throws thrown out on mythic mode, erupting as their form is torn apart, dealing massive damage and a knockback. Then we go outside, into the waste of Karesh, where 2 encounters are going to play out, although I've been told that one of them is optional. We've got Fractillus, which is an elemental born of the crags and dunes surrounding the Manaforge. Fractillus guards his domain by harnessing the power of the binding sands and hardened glass of the inhospitable waste, using things like crystalline walls of void energy and turning us into crystals while he unleashes shockwaves. And then the other encounter, that one is a bit more interesting and got a whole lot of people talking. There stands the Soul Hunters.
I've sacrificed everything. What have you given?
A demon hunter that used Illidan's teachings to not only control the power of the Fel and turn it against the Legion, they now also wield the awesome cosmic might of the Voids. And we helped with that. During questing in Karesh, we have Illyria bring over the Void Elves, with Magister Umbric asking us if we can help out his apprentice Leona. She's been working with the demon hunter Adaris to see if the Illidari's methods could offer any insights on harnessing the powers of the Voids.
There is strength in shadow.
We end up helping them with this in what I thought was a pretty funny quest. They need Void Essence, which they put in a fragment of Karesh, which has been touched by the All Devouring, but is held under pretty strict containments. No time to think if this might be a bad idea, not when they offer gold and rewards. With all the power gathered, it is time for Adaris to go through the ritual. But the Demon Hunter is planning to dominate the Void, as he has done with dominating their demons, instead of letting the Void wash over them and maneuver the Whispers as a Void Elf would. This all comes to the surface during the ritual itself, which made me wonder, did you not practice any of this? Did you not discuss how the ritual was going to go? Did you not tell him how to tame the Void before gathering and unleashing it? Oh well, I guess not. And we have no other option but to kick Adaris through a void portal, which she has no idea about where it might go. He could be sent anywhere. And then he shows up in the raid again, barely containing those abyssal powers. He seeks to devour the void energy surrounding Managaforge Omega. His deadly allies, Alyssa Darksorrow and Valerian Bloodwrath, they've joined Adaris in pursuit of larger prey. Together, they will destroy all who oppose them, leave nothing but chaos in their wake. He can now open up rifts into the voids, while Valerian singes any who stand in the path with I-beam, lunges towards her prey with the hunt, and then Alyssa is cleaving her target's essence with fracture and feasts on their rendered souls with spirit bomb. But then, at 100 energy, that is when the real fun begins, with a beautiful void-infused metamorphosis, with the possibility of, this being a hint at a third spec for the Demon Hunters. At minimum, I think this quest will unlock more race options for Demon Hunters, as they're currently stuck with just the Night Elves and the Blood Elves, the Void Elves doing research into their techniques, and with Midnight reuniting the Elven tribes. I think it's a safe bet to assume that more race customizations, more race options are going to become available for the Demon Hunters. Another spec would be awesome though, similar to what they've done with the Dragfear, but only time is going to tell.
Lord Illidan knows the way.
Back to the raid, as the wasteland leads into the Shadow Docks, where the king stands before the seat of the Devourer. Once the ruler of Karesh and sworn to defeat Dimensius, Nexus-King Salhadaar reveals that he formed a pact with the very being that shattered his homeworlds. Atop his royal Voidwing, Salhadaar commands the Shadow Guard to ensure the return of his master Dimensius. Curious if we'll get more details on the coming of Dimensius. How and why did the Karesh summon him in the first place? Did Xal'atath manipulate those events as well, and did the king turn against her? I wonder what the RP is going to be like, as the king, he gives us a taste of what it's like to pledge an oath as an Ethereal, forcing players under oath and testing their will against the voids. We need to get rid of those oaths as soon as we can, or we'll become his thrall. But not just the king hammers away at us, his royal Voidwing, a void-infused dragon. It does what dragons do best: swipe, claw, deep breath across the battlefield, with now portals opening up, sending a deep breath in all kinds of directions. The king will summon in elite reinforcements, together with Nexus Prince Zevos and Nexus Prince Kaivor, not to be confused with Nexus Princess Kaivessa. She is our big bad to deal with in the Delves. And eventually, the king is so pressed that he has no other choice but to start devouring the energy of his royal Voidwing, and he's very busy trying to seal off the Manaforge. But soon enough, the king stands alone. But by no means does that mean he's any less dangerous. A massive galactic mace is pulled out that he starts swinging around, which sounded so badass that I had to wonder, does he drop this as a weapon? Which he does. It's apparently super rare, but it will allow you to AoE loot mobs around you and crushing them into void dusts. Then dark stars, they start to materialize from the twisting nether, a small taste of the galactic battle that is to come. For after the king, and I guess despite our best efforts, there awaits Dimensius the All-Devouring. And the way that this battle is described in the Dungeon Journal, it has me very excited. It reminds me so much of reading about Argus back then in Legion, and well, of course, it will never be as cool as I have it in my head. Here are some highlights on what goes down in the fights. And please, prepare your poor frames, cause things are gonna go crazy. They show the size of Dimensius in the presentation, and he's huge. PTR data mining compares him to N'Zoth, who then becomes itty bitty tiny. In my mind, I picture something like, you remember when we fought Argus, and there was this big cloud in the background with Sargeras in there? In my mind, we are going to go up against something as big as Sargeras was back then. But again, please keep in mind, we are just reading the Dungeon Journal, right? Deep within Managaforge Omega, Dimensius the All-Devouring and Destroyer of Karesh is slowly waking, as his devoted Ethereal followers use the Dark Heart to give him sustenance. If they succeed, they will unleash a being of unfathomable power that could destroy the very fabric of reality. And they're not kidding with that description. He will reach down with both hands and tear at the very fabric of space, inflicting massive cosmic damage. This violent act creates an enormous sphere of antimatter at each location and causes spatial fragments to rain down upon us. He will smash us with cosmic damage, the force rippling outward through space, inflicting cosmic damage and knocking us away, scattering living mass. Said living mass needs to be destroyed, which leaves behind excess mass. The excess mass can then be used to create a collective gravity zone, giving us enough weight to not get sucked in and instantly devoured. Getting devoured by Dimensius, entering his body, which he will try to do a lot, it means game over. GG, you are now dead. His growing hunger increases with each cast, pushing the player's collective gravity to its limits. Hold on long enough, and we'll go into intermission event horizon. When Dimensius' health is depleted, he collapses into the Dark Heart and pulls players in with him, where they must quickly fly with Xal'atath to safety. They actually had something like this at last year's Gamescom as part of the VR experience to promote the War Within. We were flying through Dalaran as it got destroyed, portaled into Ashkahet, and then we ended up in the Dark Heart, where Xal'atath became absolutely massive and pushed us out again. Something in the direction of, this is far too soon. Khadgar has of course also been inside the relic for a while, and now Xal'atath joins us in this fight. Empowers our Rishi reps, which protect us from the endless darkness, and that allows us to use our flying mounts. I'm thinking the druid fight in the Emerald Dream, where you could fly after them, right? Meanwhile, Mr. Dimensius is gonna throw planets at us. Fragments of worlds shattered, dismounting any players on impact. We also have an astrophysical jet launched through space, an immediate stream of radiation. Players who attempt to cross the center of the stream are vaporized instantly and die. But that's not enough. We also have black holes. When a star dies, a singularity forms in its place, lethally spaghettifying any player it touches. I thought this was just a funny term, but spaghettifying is a real thing that happens in space. Meanwhile, it will shred players into their constituent atoms on contact, which also kills you, yay! But don't worry, we in turn get to gather stellar energy and throw shooting stars at the Void Lords, inflicting cosmic damage equal to 5% of its maximum health. This is phase 1, and we're throwing planets and stars at each other. Stage 2, the Dark Hearts. We still have laws of nature broken, world thrown at us, gamma streams, and different types of gravities, which your teammates will need to pull you down. So some people are going to go up in the air, and then your raid members need to be beneath you in order to pull you down. Similar to the Valkyr with the Lich King, where your raid team now needs to save you. But we also need to deal with his conquered rivals. There are Artoshion and Paragov, mini Void Lords that begin a ritual to seal the world soul fragment within a veil of impenetrable darkness. Upon completing the ritual, the fragment becomes inaccessible, and upon reaching 100 energy, they instantly finish the ritual, which I think would not be good. After taking care of his conquered foes and their Void Wardens in turn, we then go into stage 3, Singularity. Dimensius reels from a devastating counterattack from the players and Xal'atath, increasing all damage taken until he recovers. Why not start to extinguish the stars? Dimensius calls 8 Void Stars down around him over 10 seconds with millions of shadow damage. The Void Stars then begin to orbit him and project a gravity well. The gravity well does damage and reduces movement speed, but it will also save us from his Devour, which he still tries to do. At 100 energy, the Devourer devours all. Void Stars, black holes, accretion disks, or ourselves if we let him. All that is gonna add to his density, which increases the damage of his cosmic radiation, which will stack. So the longer this lasts, the more aura he farms, the more damage we take. It will also darken the sky and call down a series of massive celestial objects that collide with the ground, or what about collapsing space itself in an attempt to crush his targets? Or what about a supernova? Dimensius initiates the death of a Void Star, causing it to explode after 5 seconds, inflicting millions of cosmic damage, which we need to run away from. A black hole will appear in place of the Void Star and continue to orbit around Dimensius. A black hole that will once again spaghettify us. All these cosmic galactic abilities, black holes orbiting his mass. How big is Dimensius going to be? How cosmic of a scale is this fight? How are we, like the tiny heroes that we are, is Xal'atath going to make us bigger? Are we going to be flying? Like, what's going to happen? And if this is the end boss for the War Within, where do you possibly go after this? What is going to happen to cause Midnight? What is going to flow there? How big is the next one going to be if this is how you wrap up part 1? I'm really curious to find out. We're going to have the announcement of Gamescom, which they have now confirmed, so we're looking at, from here on, 2 months waiting time until we're going to find out. Really curious. Now, defeating Dimensius on Mythic, it can reward a beautiful new mount. There has been some data mine information on how the raid wraps up, but since it's not part of the PTR and we're not sure if it's even real, I think we'll leave that bit as a surprise. Raid testing should begin soon enough, or might be already on its way by the time that you're seeing this video, so we'll find out soon, and before we know it, a new story is upon us. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. By all means, let me know what you think in the comments down below. You can subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!